Hi, everyone. We are speaking to Sheila Jules today. Sheila's the co-founder and CEO of LifeSciHub. LifeSciHub recently, over the summer in June, exhibited at the Drug Information Association's annual meeting. And Sheila's here today to share some of her insights from that meeting with our viewers. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
Okay, so Sheila, can you talk about what was the most important takeaway from the Drug Information Association's annual meeting?
Well, what was interesting about the DIA this year is that LifeSciHub is the first online resource marketplace dedicated to life sciences research and development. So it was our niche's first introduction to a marketplace that is in the very specific context of life sciences R&D. And what's significant about that is we have the advantage both in terms of LifeSciHub and our client base, which is sponsors, CROs, clinical research organizations, as well as the entire vendor ecosystem. Anybody who relies on highly skilled resources that they need to utilize in non-FTE chunks, whatever those chunks of activity might look like. So medical writers, biostatisticians, regulatory publishers, clinical data managers, anything you can think of that is required during the unpredictable peaks and valleys that happen during clinical stage activities. So we are taking the lessons learned from other verticals, which have actually been doing this for quite a while. So because this is such a risk-averse space, life sciences R&D tends to be behind other verticals. And we've actually been working on LifeSciHub and bringing it to fruition for the last 4 years. And most of that work has been studying what's been done elsewhere, keeping track of those different lessons learned, and contextualizing the concept of a tech-enabled gig economy online resource marketplace platform so that it's very specific to life sciences R&D, and essentially bringing these lessons learned to this space. So it was the first introduction. I would say it's very new to this space. Most folks that we met with were fairly unaware of the concept of an online marketplace, but the other thing I'll say is some people intuitively grasped it. They have had experiences from other marketplaces such as Airbnb, Uber, and Lyft, I should say, are all examples of the sharing economy, of which the gig economy is a subset.
So it sounds like this experience has informed your design for LifeSciHub a lot. Can you talk a little bit about what your next steps are?
Sure. And what was interesting is we did shift our focus a bit after DIA, and that was due to the interest of the independent workers themselves. So the gig economy parlance is independent worker. In our niche, that's independent consultant. You know, usually the term is consultant. We use that interchangeably. But the interest from the consultants themselves and the independent workers themselves was significantly higher than what we anticipated. I mean, we knew it would be very interesting, but the level of interest there was extremely high. And I think because this is the first platform of its kind that is dedicated to the independent workforce in life sciences R&D, we are developing features, functionality, and essentially an entire community for the independent worker that it's hard to believe it doesn't exist at the moment, it being September 2018. So we have been driving our focus very heavily towards creating this community, which will deliver resources, connections, everything you can think of, not about the expertise itself, meaning not training on the latest guidances or the latest GCP practices, which for those who don't know is good clinical practice, but the business of being an independent worker and the business of being a consultant in this space. So when you think about these folks, and I'm actually one of them, I'm a regulatory consultant myself, and I have been for the last almost 6 years. And, you know, when I became a consultant, I didn't know anything about bookkeeping, anything about, well, I did know something about legal agreements, but dealing with legal agreements on behalf of the sponsor or the vendor that I was working for is a lot different than dealing with legal agreements for my own consulting practice and carrying all that risk. So just because we're highly trained, scientific-minded, technical, some medical doctors, biostatisticians, and therefore extremely smart, doesn't mean we are very comfortable with the business aspects. So that is what we're looking forward to delivering. We're targeting the end of October as our beta release, and at that point, we are going to be inviting independent workers to come and join the community and meet with other independent workers and start trading tips and tricks, and we'll have a whole robust set of content that is dedicated towards them and towards their issues. And what we're trying to do is to alleviate the isolation of being an independent worker, among other things. That's our very first release. We're also going to be driving towards helping independent workers stay employed. We are not an employer, but we are absolutely going to be facilitating independent workers finding work. And we'll have a lot more content that's driven towards that and other videos that will explain that.
Awesome. That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, there's one other thing I want to mention. Sorry.
Sure.
We are also going to be doing the first ever survey of the independent workforce in life sciences R&D. It's pretty amazing that this is a critical talent pool. It already exists. There are a tremendous number of consultants and independent workers in life sciences R&D that the entire ecosystem relies on. And yet, as far as we know, and we've looked, and we've consulted with other, experts and academia, this workforce has never formally been measured. So we are about to launch a survey of the independent workforce that is going to focus on all the stakeholders involved, the independent workers themselves, the hiring managers who are in charge of the line functions, so clinical operations, regulatory operations, what have you, and the other two extremely important stakeholders, and that is human resources and procurement. All four of those stakeholders have a slightly different take on the use of the independent, also known as contingent workforce. All four have different priorities and different needs that need to be met. So we're really excited about launching our first collector, which is hopefully going to happen in a couple of weeks. And we will make that data, those data, I should say, available to the industry at large. And, we will most likely make it an annual survey because that way we can benchmark trends. So watch out for that.
So, thank you, Sheila. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.